Both the LG G6 and the Huawei Mate 9 Pro pack a dual camera setup. While the G6 opts for a dual 13 megapixel setup, the Mate 9 Pro has a 20 plus 12 megapixel setup with Leica optics. Whereas on the front, the Mate 9 Pro has an 8 megapixel camera as opposed to the 5 megapixel sensor on the LG G6. But which phone's camera performance comes out on top? Do megapixels really tell you the full story? Time to find out in this comparison. We'll start things off with the performance in the day, of course. Straight up, the LG G6 has more contrast to pictures, but the Mate 9 Pro seems to have a better dynamic range while capturing more detail of the skyline. It also seems to do a better job with white balance and overall color accuracy. This is particularly seen in the next few pictures, which are more natural looking on the Mate 9 Pro, whereas the G6 tends to oversaturate the orange and blue colors quite a bit. That being said, one of the key advantages to the G6's camera is the wide-angle lens, allowing for a way more detailed image when required, but it does have a slight fisheye look to it. Moving over to macro shots, this is where the G6's contrast really helps. The pictures are way more pleasing to the eye, but the Mate 9 Pro once again is more color accurate. Here, the Mate 9 Pro's software selective focus feature also shines a fair bit to produce a much shallower depth of field. Indoors and low light, the Mate 9 Pro once again is more color accurate and has a slight extra bit of detail because of the higher megapixel count. The G6 almost produces artificial images, but it does well to control light exposure compared to the Mate 9 Pro. It's also worth pointing out here that you get a monochrome mode on the Mate 9 Pro that you don't seem to find on the LG G6. For whatever reason, you might want to use it. And the story is very similar in night shots as well. Exposure of light on the sign is controlled well in the LG G6, and overall it minimizes noise better and has a slightly better dynamic range, as seen from the detail in the background of pictures. Of course, for the added detail, you could always use the wide-angle lens once again, which does end up deteriorating the quality a bit, but if you want that extra bit of detail, you should definitely give it a go. But where things start to change up is on the front. The selfie camera on the Mate 9 Pro is very detailed, and I seem to favor it over the G6's softer look. Sometimes the G6 tends to produce more realistic pictures, but its horrendous performance at night, with that significant amount of blurring compared to the Mate 9 Pro, really has me liking the Huawei phone better. Lastly, as far as videos are concerned, both can film at 4K, and I really couldn't tell the difference between the two phones apart from that slight bit of stabilization here and there, but you can't go wrong with either. And yeah, that's all for this video. I think the G6's primary camera in low light and its wide-angle lens is very impressive, while the Mate 9 Pro takes the edge for overall camera performance day to day as well as selfie performance. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below and leave some feedback for future videos as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.